y'all didn't know about this, or at least the part of the world that goes to our Facebook page from time to time. All right, let me introduce this panel of children's ministry leaders. Lachelle Fox is from Bulverde Baptist Church, and she's been doing this a while. You said 16 years at Bulverde Baptist Church, so she's a pro at this kind of stuff. And Lachelle, thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate you joining us. Sarah Trumbull has been the children's ministry leader here at Calvary for
April will be 5 years.
April will be 5 years. Wow. So she's an old pro now too. That's awesome. And she fixes up a mean lunch too. By the way.
Team.
Oh, team. Yeah. Well, and good leaders always give credit to the team. That's right. Sarah, thanks for being with us. Doug Donovan, how long have you been at First Baptist New Braunfels now?
Going on 5 years.
Going on 5 years. All right. And previous to that, where you ministered? Was it Arizona?
Arizona.
Okay. In ministries at church in Arizona. So all of these guys have been doing children's ministry for a while. And what I asked them to think about and be prepared to talk about today was how to do children's ministry in your church in a family-friendly way, in a way that works with families, that takes into account the needs of parents, the schedules of families nowadays, and all the things that go into working well and coordinate the ministry with families. And so I'm just going to dive in with our first question. How would you define a family-friendly children's ministry? In other words, what are some of the defining characteristics of such a ministry? And I'll hand the microphone on, and y'all can just pass it down the way. Michelle, we'll let you go first.
All right. Well, I feel like families just need to feel loved, right? I mean, that's really the bottom line is I think a family-friendly ministry is going to look different in different churches, and we need the freedom to do that. But what does it mean? What to say that you are loved and accepted, received, heard, and equipped as parents to lead your family at home? Because that's really where the leading happens the most, right? So I think when they come to church, they need to trust us that it's a good investment of time for them to come to church, because there's a lot of ways that families can spend their time nowadays. So we have to be intentional.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad that you gave these questions in advance. Thank you. So when he gave us this question starting out, thank you. I was like, I don't know. Definition, I was a concrete thinker here. I was like, I have no idea. But I was bouncing it off a friend, and I'm like, well, I mean, what's coming to my mind is just, I mean, what would I want? What do I expect if I were a parent? If I had friends that were parents and they're coming, what do I look for? What is the first thing that I look for? And one thing that came to my mind is we actually just got back from Alaska, really great trip. But we were staying in an Airbnb, and we were looking up places to eat. We're like, all right, like, what's a good place to eat? What's on the menu? What's the price? What does it look like? So I would say communication is a big thing for family-friendly ministry. And part of that, I believe, is having your website, having a social media presence. And I know, excuse me, I have a grandparent who actually just came recently, and he said he saw us on our Facebook page and also our website. So the presence there and everything, I'll just be honest, everything that it's on the website for our kids ministry, I borrowed or I stealed from other websites.
That's called research.
So Wimberly, y'all helped me out a lot. Thank you guys for that. But again, like what to expect though, like on a Sunday morning, I guess that's where I'm leading to, was a big thing. So again, like we're searching for places to eat, and we're like, oh, what does it look like? I think it's important for parents to know what to expect when they come to the church. And do they have space? Do they have a check-in? How's their security set up? What does their nursery look like? Things like that. So we actually have on our website like a big place. It's like, hey, what to expect on a Sunday morning? So hey, if they're visiting, they've already probably looked at our website before they even came to the church. So I feel like I'm rambling, but that was one thing that popped into my head.
Good.
I think that looking at family-friendly starts with being family-focused. I think you start off with prayer. I think you start off with digging into God's Word and seeking His counsel as it relates to the specific families of your body, like Lachelle had mentioned, each body is going to be made up of different families, but they all have general needs, and we want to support those needs. I think if we look at our culture, and we look at it from the very beginning, there's been a desire to disrupt the family, a desire to tear apart the family, a desire for men not to be husbands or fathers, and women to be wives and mothers. And so what we do is we try to look at it and say, okay, how can we continue to help support the family, the whole? And I think that's where you start to become family friendly. Instead of just, again, following the crowd and picking and choosing who you're going to support and how, you try to say, how can I support the family as a whole? But again, it starts with the families in your body. And so I think you have to get with the families in your body. You have to talk to them. You have to hear from them. You have to observe where they are at. And then that starts to shape how you can give to them, how you can continue to train them and support them to be what God has called them to be in that specific role. For us right now, as we did that 5 years ago and started looking at that, we kind of went all in as far as family focus. We tried to say, you know what, we are going to do everything in our power to bring the family together as much as possible, because throughout the week, we knew that our families were being pulled apart constantly. We had fathers that wanted to be the spiritual leader in the home, but didn't know how. We had moms that wanted to train up and support, but didn't have time and opportunities. And we had kids that were drowning and year after year not growing in God and the foundations of His Word. And so we said, hey, what can we do to bring the family together, give them specific time, specific training, specific support, continuing to disciple, to model, whatever we can do for each part of the family. And so for us, family friendly was truly being family focused and saying we're going to help support the family as a whole. And that's kind of shaped in everything that we do. Again, like Lachelle had mentioned, you look at your families though, and you say what is going to be supportive of them. But again, it's the family. It's not just the kids. It's not just the parents. It's the family.
That was great.
So I'm hearing keys like contextualization, making sure that you're doing what's right for your context, communication. Newsflash, churches are not always good at communicating things with folks that might be interested in participating in their ministry. So really being intentional about that. And then, Doug, just intentionality, that figuring out that we're going to make supporting families a focus of this ministry, not just hopefully an accidental side benefit, but actually be a focus. So being intentional about that. All right, sometimes we can learn by seeing or hearing about what not to do. So what are some mistakes that you have observed, maybe even have committed yourself at times in the past, but some mistakes that you've seen churches make that cause their children's ministry to be not so family friendly, maybe to be not as in sync with what's going on with the families in their church. So mistakes are things to learn from in under the not to do category. Let's send this down to Doug and we'll do it in reverse order.
Oh, Robbie, if my mom sees this, she's going to get mad that the ladies did not go first.
All right, we'll make a disclaimer on our Facebook.
I'll send her your way.
Yeah.
I think that one of the mistakes that I've made is the assumption that dads knew how to be dads and moms knew how to be moms. There was an assumption early on that because they were attending Bible studies, because they were attending Sunday morning worship service, that carried on throughout the rest of the week. And as they walked and talked with their kids, that they naturally continued to have those conversations, pointing to the Lord and His Word. And after years of being in the ministry, you start to realize that's not the case. That unless somebody specifically demonstrates and shows them what that looks like on a daily basis, they're going to go year after year after year, and the only time that those kids are in the Word are when they are in church. The only time that they're hearing the truth of God is when they have a Sunday school teacher or they have a VBS worker tell them. And the rest of the time, the heart is there for the dad. The heart is there for the mom. They just don't know how to practically do that. And so my greatest mistake was assuming that they were naturally doing that. And what you saw then is you saw generation after generation as they moved into junior high and high school completely go the way of the dodo. And because they didn't have that foundation that I assumed was there. But if they're only hearing that truth for an hour on Sunday morning or an hour and a half on Wednesday night, and they're not seeing that demonstrated by their parents, which is God's answer for this, is that we are to obey our parents. We're supposed to be looking to them as that godly example and that lead. Then it's very easy for them to start going that way. So that's been my biggest mistake. I'm trying to work through that and hopefully not continue to make it.
I don't have mistakes.
Because Dennis is such a good hierarchy. He knows where they are.
No, I make them every week, probably. Again, just thinking about this question beforehand, I do not mean to offend anyone. If y'all do this in your ministry, just sorry. I don't agree with siloed ministries. Is that the right word?
Define
where it's just completely cut off. So again, communication I think is very important for parents. I also think it's important for parents to be part of, or even the kids, I should say that, saying it backwards, but kids be a part of worship. And so for it to be completely cut off, and I've seen it all the way up to even youth group, where again, like the youth is doing its own worship. They're not part of the bigger church body. They don't even do the church body functions and fellowships. I think that sets them up for failure in the long run, because then I think they don't know how to be a part of the body of Christ when they're older and they're looking for a church. They're like, oh, I want to go to a church that's just like me. And so a college kid, if they've only known that, then they're looking for a church that's strictly just college. And then it just continues. So I've seen that where it starts all the way down to children. And again, I think it's important for parents to be involved in the kids. So for us, we have a cutoff where, and I know some churches, they do all the way up to 5th grade and then they go into worship. But we have a cutoff where it's they 1st grade and then they go into worship, because children's church, it's supposed to help them learn how to be in the bigger church body, and then they go to worship with their parents. So I think that is a failure. I will say, for me personally, was thinking that all the teachers that I had or I inherited knew what they were doing, and they didn't need me training. They've been here. And I think it's important for teachers, and also just the confidence that parents need to, hey, like they're teaching, they know how to teach God's word. What are they instilling? So I think also training is an important factor of that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, these are really good. Having been in the ministry longer than them, I'm sure I've made those mistakes and many more. But I want to stress, as an older person, that I feel like sometimes we can get defensive when parents suggest things or when they can criticize. And we really want to kind of isolate ourselves and say, no, we know what we're doing, we know what we're doing. And so I feel like that was kind of my biggest mistake early on. And to my younger me, any out there, I just encourage you to invite those people, and then when you find people who have opinions, have lunch with them, have coffee with them, and really glean from what they can contribute. That doesn't mean you have to do everything they say, but when parents know that you're hearing them, listening to them, and they're part of these decisions, they feel like it's a more family-friendly ministry.
So I'm hearing, as Doug was talking about, be careful about faulty assumptions you make about what's going on in kids' lives and in households, especially where discipleship is concerned. Be careful about that. Don't silo the ministry. Make sure it's integrated into the broader life of the church, so that kids aren't just getting an experience with other little kids. They're getting experience with parents and adults and people of all ages. And don't be afraid of people with opinions. Sometimes they might have good ones. Even the ones maybe that aren't so good can be the beginning of a relationship that is strong. And if they know you have a listening ear, that's probably going to lend them to be much more favorable toward the ministry that their kids are involved in. So great thoughts. All right, let's talk a little bit more in depth about communication. As I mentioned earlier, churches aren't always the best at communicating important things. An announcement on Sunday morning at the beginning of a worship service usually doesn't cover it for everybody. So talk to me a little bit about how do we foster good communication, particularly with parents of those kids that are in your children's ministry. What are some tips or some ideas that you've seen to help foster good communication? Sarah, we're going to start with you on this one.
Oh, are you sure?
Oh, yeah, we are.
All right. So I want to say, I was like, I jam it down their throat. But honestly, I try everything possible. So with what I'm learning from my parents and parents that are visiting, even though you might text them, even though you might email them, even though you might make an announcement, they're just like, oh, I didn't see that, or oh, I didn't get that. So I try every possible thing that I can. So either it is through email, I will send, if we're doing an event like our spring break events that we had, I probably sent out like maybe 12, 15 emails about that event, and it was every day. I went from doing a group text message where I literally had to personally go to each parent and either text them or call them. Also for communication, that was another thing too. So I have like little baggies. Thank you, Kimberly. I sold this from y'all as well. So I think I thought it was a great idea, and it's everything about nursery, everything that we're doing on Wednesday nights. I also do a calendar that is quarterly calendar, and it shows everything that we're doing, even what the bigger part of the body is doing as well, so they know in advance. I put that as a JPEG, I put that as a PDF, and I'll send that out as well as many times as possible to let them know. We also have a family welcome center that I have resources and stuff for them. But yeah, making announcements, definitely not enough. I'll say even just doing regular emails here and there is not enough. And then also just sometimes going directly to them, honestly, I don't like that at all, just like I don't like public speaking. But you personally have to go up to them Sundays sometimes, like, hey, did you get my email? Hey, did you get my text? I didn't get a response back, and intentionally go to them and communicate back to them. So,
Yeah, all of that. I think early on in the relationship, communication is necessary when you have a new family, communicating in all of those different ways to make sure that they understand what you're all about, and also what kind of programming you have to offer to support them. I think continuing in that early relationship for them to hear your heart too, and for them to know where you're coming from and why you're doing what you're doing, your love for the Lord and your love for His people. I think one of the things that I've continued to learn to do too in communication is getting some of the other families to be my communicators. So those individuals that are extroverts, those who are not afraid to meet people, I try to use them in communicating with new families. On Sunday morning, I'll be like, hey, that family over there, sick them. And just let them go talk to them and let them share what's going on and invite them. That way they can say, hey, you've already got somebody, you already know somebody, I'll be there with you. And there's a comfort level with that. But I think, yeah, just continuing to help them know your heart too. I think sometimes we get focused in on the scheduling, but if they don't know that you truly care for the Lord and truly care for His people, then again, it's just another thing that is going to be scheduled. So I'd add those in the communication as well. Sure.
Good things, and I went to a conference where I said you need to communicate 5 ways, everything you need to communicate 5 ways, and I did that for a long time, and I still try many ways. We have a Facebook page, we have an e-bulletin in the church that includes all the children's stuff, but at some point you get to where you're like, okay, you kind of have to train your people where to look rather than all the things. So recently I'm into the mail server situation. I feel pretty good about that since I'm old, but we're using MailChimp, and so I schedule an email every week that tells the parents what we're studying in the Gospel Project, what letter verse that we're learning, what events that are coming up, what they can be working on with their kids, what summer events are coming up. So every week it's in their inbox, and you can do a little bit of pre-words or whatever they call it, so what kind of catches their attention, like we're off for spring break, Palm Sunday picnic's coming up, so that some of the stuff is the same, but other things are different. Some things change every week, but they can always know that they can click on that for the information. So that is what I feel like is a real win for us right now.
So I'm hearing use all your channels that are available to you and use them multiple times. We'll just a one-time announcement doesn't cut it. They need reminders, right? These guys can probably attest to how many times I send reminders about meetings and things. Pastors need that as well, but families certainly need it because they're busy. Use your networkers. Use the families that are part of your ministry, that are those connecting people, the network that have that gift. Utilize them. And then I like the idea of the MailChimp, something that's regular, something that folks know is going to come at a certain time every week, and you sort of train them to look for it there. So some kind of regular contact that they know is coming in a given week. Great ideas. All right, so continuing to think about the parents of the kids in your ministry. How do you involve parents in policy making for your ministry, in planning, in actually making the kind of content and scheduling decisions that you have to make in order to have a children's ministry? How do you involve input from parents, specifically in policy making, planning, scheduling? Michelle?
Well, I think with policy, pretty much you just invite their opinions, and you know the ones that are going to have an opinion. There are several who are like, whatever you think is great, But then you've got the ones who already had an opinion before you asked. They're the ones you really want to tap into. You want them to feel heard, and you want them to feel honestly, that's their gift, right? That is their gift to plan, to think through the policies, to be specific, and we need them. So I think inviting them into that situation is what we need to do. As far as planning, we need to invite them. One thing that we do in the summer is I give my school year team the summer off. So I specifically recruit a summer team, and that involves college kids, singles, those who just finished high school, and parents. And first of all, I do kind of the blanket invite, through my email, and then I start getting specific, asking specific parents, hey, I really need you to help on Sunday mornings through the summer. It never fails. I end up with someone else on my team, whether that's on a Wednesday night or a Sunday, a camp counselor, VBS. So I feel like giving them a taste of what's going on, even if they don't join up, they're seeing what their kids are involved in, and they are like buying into what you're doing. Or they're giving you advice, which that's okay too. But I just feel like the more that you can involve them and you're not worried about them being involved, the better. Invite, oh, you want to come and observe? Come on. You want to come and, lead for, I let them do whatever they want to do, as much as they want to do, as long as they are safety, certified and all the things. But I do feel like just the more that we can make it an open door to where they feel welcome, that there's less suspicion, and they're on board.
So you found that summer is often an entry point for new adults being involved in the children's ministry.
Absolutely. During BBS, you kind of start saying, oh, that person is having a lot of fun. This is the first time she has volunteered. They are having so much fun. They need to continue. So you find out what's that next step for them, and so you just always have your eyes open.
Go, Sarah, go.
Well, I'll be honest, I really don't know. But this question, I was like, I'm going to listen to these two.
That's okay.
Because honestly, like Open Door, I love it. Like I'm looking at my people over here, and I'm like, you probably need to do that. But definitely when it comes to policy making, though, it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me like when all these churches have all those committees and their decorating committee, this committee, that committee, and everyone has their opinion about what color the carpet should be, or no, we shouldn't have carpet, we need to have da-da-da-da. And it's just like, no, this is what we're doing, this is final. We do ministry safe. So a lot of what we do, I want to keep saying infiltrating, that's not the right word. Integrate. Okay, integrate, there you go, I love it. So I don't know if that's helpful or not,
Yeah.
but the other stuff I'm still learning and I'm just gonna listen.
All right.
Well, we're still learning too.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I hope I'm still learning too.
Yes. Yeah, I think listening to the parents is valuable. Making sure that they have their input heard, making sure that they have a say. However, when it comes to programming changes or policies too, I also really listen to my generals, those who are actually involved with the ministry, those who are the ones teaching, the ones who are leading. Those people see and hear a whole lot more than some of the parents might. Sometimes for the parents, they're looking at it from, okay, I'd love this ministry to change to really help my life. Can we do some Mom's Day Out like every other day? Parents' Night Out every Friday and Saturday, and let's make that change right now.
Hey, that church will grow. I got to.
Staff will leave in a month.
Yeah,
But you listen to that, but you also have to take into account where you are hoping to take the families. And I think that's where leadership comes in and saying, okay, these are our weaknesses. How can we continue to grow? How can we continue to be more effective? And generally, when you go back to the parents and you talk to them about how we are improving, they're not going to be like, oh, no, I hate improvement. Sometimes when you have a big change too, it's the way that you package it. It's the way that you communicate that to the parents to help them recognize the support that you are giving to them. It may not be the support that they are wanting, but you help point to how it's going to benefit the kids and the parents. But when it comes to the policies, I generally get the input from the parents, but listen to the leaders and make sure to get their valued opinion.
Related question: each of you, if you would be willing to say something about the kind of forum or mechanism you use to get the input from parents and others who are involved in your ministry. Is there like a specific kind of meeting or a specific way that people communicate with you? So say something about that if you would.
Well, I could say something specifically as it related just a couple years ago. We had a major change. Hold yourself. We stopped doing Awana. I know, the gasps. We stopped doing Awana, and in order to make a big change like that within the children's department, it took a lot of communication. And the way that I lined that up was first to start with the parents, those key families within the body, to help them recognize why we believe that this is a good change, why we believe this is going to be beneficial in the long run, not only for their kids, but for them as well.
You're talking about your influencers.
Those influencers. I get that core group of families, and I talk to them individually and say, hey, this is the conviction of where we believe God's leading the ministry, and kind of lay it all out for them, hear them out, answer any of those questions. I'm jotting down all of their questions because I know that those are questions that other parents are going to have. Any kind of concerns or things that they bring up, I'm also jotting down, so that way I have a good way of communicating the answer to those questions. Once I got through all that core, then you start opening it up to the families. And so we had several meetings, whether it be on a Sunday morning. It took the place of a Bible study and said, hey, meet in the gym. We want to talk to you about the future comings of the children's ministry, being able to outline it that way. And then we continue to broaden it from there.
So the bigger the change, the more time and intentionality.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you start off small with the communication, because then that develops then where you're going with that change. Because you think you have it all outlined very well, but then somebody says something, you're like, good point. And then you start to reshape it, and you start to kind of adjust what you were doing. And the goal is by the time you're ready to roll it out, it's a product that is effective.
Sarah, Lachelle, anything you want to say about the forums or channels you use to get feedback from folks?
Honestly, I do feel like I have just about every church member's number on my phone. That happens after 16 years. But, text to 5 or 6 moms, an email to 10 or 15 really gives you a good temperature.
Yeah.
All right, this is the last question for the panel, and it's a complete the sentence kind of a question. So how would you complete this sentence? if you want your children's ministry to be family friendly, make sure you, and then you can fill in that blank with as many ideas as you want. Yeah, but basically, if you know, boiling it down to the irreducible minimum, what do you think is really key to making your children's ministry family friendly? So, Michelle, make sure you.
Well, I'm going to make it concise, and then I'm going to add to it.
All
But
right.
include parents, listen to parents, and provide family-friendly events and outreach opportunities. So, I've already talked about how summer is kind of like a grooming time for me to get, just to invite parents in, listening to parents. But I also think providing family-friendly events and outreach opportunities is just really important. At our church, we have an Easter egg hunt, Palm Sunday picnic. We have a fall festival. We have a Christmas pageant. And on these events, the littlest ones to the oldest youth are involved in whether they're participating, whether they're filling eggs, whether they're hiding eggs, whether they're hunting eggs. And so I feel like that kind of reaches the whole family. And same with the fall festival. Once you age out of children's ministry, then you're actually encouraged to run a booth or to help with a booth. And anymore, at least in our school district, they're really encouraged to get those service hours. And so you find a lot of youth who are really wanting to volunteer. So that helps. And it also just helps fill in the ranks there of those kind of opportunities. Our Christmas pageant is really cool because we do the same pageant every year. One other thing that I think is a detriment that I used to do is trying to change everything every year. I feel like once you kind of get into a rhythm with your families, don't get in a rut, but get in a rhythm. You can always add flavor and sparkle and new things, but there are some things that we do that just we need to keep doing. And the Christmas pageant, it's just very traditional, but we've got the little babies, 3 years old. They can be an angel or they can be farm animals, and then they can graduate to be an angel or a shepherd, and then they're graduating to be a narrator or Mary and Joseph or a king or something like that. And then even if the youth want to come back in, we've got ones who want to continue to sing and be an angel or a shepherd. So I feel like that's kind of a family-friendly opportunity. The parents know what to expect. They know to bring, invite the grandparents, invite the neighbors, and the kids really look forward to those different angles that they can serve in that way. Also, outreach opportunities. We have an assisted living near us. We go to Bernie for Whole Country Daily Bread, they just do so well. There's probably things in New Braunfels as well who just really utilize the volunteers well, no matter how old they are. So when we invite the whole family to come and serve together in the summer, to come and love on those older people in assisted living.
So family-friendly children's ministry event means there's a place for everybody to do something to be a part of it. Okay, that's great. That's a great idea. Sarah?
Right, so
Make sure you...
so I'll just say we do a lot of the same. We do Fall Fest, we have Vacation Bible School, things where parents can be involved. I've been really intentional when it came to VBS this past year and the year before with trying to get couples that had kids, some parents, to be leaders. So be like the head leader, whether it was Bible study, whether it was missions or just something where there was a parent or a couple in the room to where they, again, could see what was happening, what was going on, but hey, like, what is VBS all about? And a lot of them were like, wow, we didn't know what all went involved with Vacation Bible School. We didn't know that y'all did all this. We love the curriculum, so it gave them an eye-opener to what we're actually using. We also, I will just throw this out there. One thing that's been on my heart recently has been family discipleship. So I feel like we kind of struggle with that. I know in my area. So I'm all ears if y'all have any ideas about how y'all reach that or how y'all bring family discipleship into your children's ministry. I would love to hear that. I forgot where I was going with this. But yes, transparency and communication was what my answer was going to be originally.
So be real. Tell them the truth and tell it often.
Yes.
Good. All right, Doug, you can close it up.
I think it's simple, but it's easily distracted. You point them to God and His Word. You make sure that everything that you are doing for your families, with your families, is gospel-centered. You make sure that God is right at the top. He's the focus. You are continuing to point to His Word throughout the whole experience or program or ministry. It is very easy to be distracted by all kinds of different things, and they are all wonderful, and they all might be very supportive, but they're not the answer. And so I think when you're looking at family-friendly ministry, just as like you're looking at any other ministry of the church, if God and His Word are not there, then what's the point of the ministry? And so I really believe that you have to get back to that core of making sure that God is prominent, His Word is on display, and that the gospel is continuously being taught. That has to be a part of it. And that's something that we're always struggling with is, are we doing this just as a babysitting service? Are we doing this just as a fun time? If that's the case, we've got several programs outside of the church we can point families to for that. But we want them to come to us to seek the truth, and we're going to make sure that He is on display. It seems so simple, but those who are working in ministry, that it's so hard to keep that at the focus. And so I would say for me, the answer just goes right back to God and His Word. Amen.
We have a few minutes, so I wonder if the discussion has sparked any questions in your mind that you want to fire at this panel. This is Stump the Panel time. So, this lovely lady up here in front. It's hard to believe she's a grandmother. Yes, do you have a question?
I do. The church we were at when our daughter was growing up, the children's ministry philosophy was these aren't the leaders of the future, they're the leaders of today. And so they have lots of leadership opportunities within the children's ministry. Do y'all?
Meaning for kids.
For kids.
For kids to learn how to lead.
On Wednesday night, run sound system, lead worship, do all kinds of different things. Have y'all used that approach in your ministry where your kids are leading the programs?
Anybody who wants to address that?
Michelle?
We have done things like that, and admittedly, COVID kind of ended some of what we had going on. We had a group that would go and we would do Little People Church to the nursery, and anyway, there was some things I should start again probably, but I love that idea. I love them. Wednesday nights we use as, like I said, preparing for events, whether it's separating candy for the fall festival and filling the Easter eggs and stuff. So not to the extent of leading worship or sound, which I love that, but so that's where we are.
Anybody else want to talk about training kids to lead?
For us right now, our focus is on making sure that the kids have the foundation and the youth are the ones that are starting to then serve. So we're trying to make sure that that foundation is laid when they are early on and they're looking to junior high and high school saying, this is where I start getting plugged in. This is where I start serving. And that's really the student ministry has really taken hold of that, and they've really started to own that place. The hope is that it's not just a service, but if we lay that foundation, they understand who they're serving.
Amen.
Rosanna, I see that hand.
I have a question that actually Lachelle's answer sparked, and I was wondering because we're not the only ones. We're struggling with the post-COVID world like everybody else. But my question is going to be, how has that affected your family involvement? Around here, we've noticed that families learned they could live without church or they could live with church online, and they seem to be content, even though we all know that's a very low level for all of us Christians to live, and yet they're still content. How has that affected you guys as churches, and what have you seen anything improving? Is it getting better?
All right. Impact of the pandemic experience, positively, negatively. Who wants?
I feel like we are back to where we were. Back in Bulverde, we aren't, I don't feel like there's a lot of fear. Now, don't get me wrong, sports can be a 4-letter word for me.
Yep.
And it breaks my heart. It's nothing new that sports takes precedence. It's just that I feel like it's new that it is Sunday morning and Sunday night and Wednesday night, and I feel like parents are really struggling there. Ones that really want to make God the priority feel very torn. And as a grandma, I've raised 3 kids that we were able to say, no, we're not going to practice on Wednesday night. No, we're not going to go to the gym meet on Sunday. And yet I feel like there's just parents either don't have options or aren't taking the options. And we all know, I mean, I think with the select sports, now we've got coaches getting paid. And so then you've got those coaches who are like trying to sell, no, you have to. Your kid is going to be the next Babe Ruth or whatever, you know, I mean. So I feel like there's just a lot of pressure on families. And I don't remember the question.
Impact of pandemic.
Well, going off what
That was a great answer for somebody who didn't remember the question.
I got off.
what Sana said, we are struggling as a church. I mean, that's why I feel convicted about family discipleship. But it's like, y'all, how do we get the parents here and to stay here? I feel like I don't know if it's just society, it's a cultural thing, where it's just like we only come to church on Sundays. So I remember even before COVID, we maybe have on a good night for Wednesday night was 15 kids. Now I am lucky and I'm happy if we get 1. And it's been that way for a couple of years now. And it's like, okay, I don't know. Again, do I need to prepare resources? So I think resources are, again, important for the parents, communicating. But it's like, I don't know if it's something I'm not doing, something I need to be doing. I don't know. But what more can we be doing? I do think, again, family discipleship is lacking. And what I mean by family discipleship is, again, trying to make the parents truly understand that they are the foundation for their child's spiritual development. It's not just the church. This is all, you say it great on Sundays, but I'm losing what it, but again, it's only an hour. If they come to Sundays, it's only an hour. If we give them for Wednesday nights, again, it's only an hour. That's all they get.
Yeah, YouTube gets them for a lot more than that.
I mean, they're struggling. And it breaks my heart to think that a lot of these families, and there's some of them, we have parents, again, they're just like, we've been in this church for 20 years. And it's like, yeah, but you probably show up maybe 2 times out of the month, but they think they're being faithful. So it's like, okay, I was thinking about putting on a family discipleship conference, like bringing someone in from the Southern Baptist Texas Convention and really trying to teach these parents. But my fear is like, no one's going to come. They're not going to come to it. So that's something, again, we're just, I don't know if that's answered the question or not. I feel like I'm rambling, but yeah. No.
Doug, 60 seconds. Bring it home.
All right, 60 seconds. I think more than the COVID thing, I think parents are more scared of what their kids are being told or what's going to happen with their kids. I think there's a lot of fear. You see a lot of abuse that is happening throughout the world in schools and, yes, even in churches. And so that makes them very apprehensive, too, to just leave and to drop off and to trust. And so I think going back to Sarah talking about the family again, the family discipleship is important. If you continue to attack the family and say, we want to support the family, if mom's sitting next to son or daughter, I don't have to worry about what is being taught. I don't have to be worried about what's being done because I am there with them. And so there's a lot of a feeling of confidence in that. And so, again, yes, I think family friendly, you go after the family. Was that 60 seconds?
That was spot on. Spot on.
All right.
Hey, how about some appreciation for this panel? And for somebody who doesn't like public speaking, Sarah, you got it going on. Hey, what I'd encourage you to do, especially if you're involved in children's ministry at your churches, maybe get a phone number or an email address or something, one of these ministry leaders, and build your peer network. Get to know them. Maybe set up a time to visit and learn some things that they've learned that you can benefit from. Maybe they'll learn some things that you have learned and they can benefit from. So I would encourage you to make some contacts with these folks while you have a chance. Thank you for being here. Listen, everybody be safe on the way back to your place of service, and see you next month on April 15th.